There are some more information coming in. We'll put this up. So there was clarity that any decision would need to be absolutely unanimous, and it was. I mean, the decision to appoint the chairman today, and this is coming in from Shireen, that it was keeping in mind Ratan Tata's approach of moving on, and even though Mr. Tata, of course, it's just been a day since Mr. Tata's passing. The fact that they've moved very fast, I mean, they've kind of kept the approach of Mr. Tata's in mind, which is to move on and look ahead and look forward. So that is the big information which is coming in. I think Mr. H.P. Ranina is with us. He was with us a couple hours back as well. Mr. Ranina, good to have you back. It's official, it's confirmed. I heard you back then as well. You were saying it will be done unanimously, and I think you said, take it from me. Yes. It will be absolutely unanimous. So it's happened, sir.
Correct.
Go on.
That is how it was expected. That is how it has happened. And I think they made the right choice in appointing Noel Tata as the chairman of the Tata Trust, because he will keep a close liaison with the Tata companies. And the Tata Trust and Tata companies have to work in tandem, as held by the Supreme Court in this recent decision last year when Cyrus Mistri's case had come up. So it is a good decision. I think it will be very good for the entire organization.
What should we expect from here, sir? Continuity? I mean, these are people who work together for a long time. So
absolutely. Total continuity, they will act in tandem. There'll be total harmony in the working. So I'm very happy that this has happened. And I'm sure that the Tata Group has the best to come now, and will lead to new heights, both under Mr. Chandrasekharan as the Tata Group chairman, and under Mr. Noel Tata as the trustee of the Tata Trust.
Mr. R. Gopalakrishnan is also with us, former board member at Tata Sons. Mr. Gopalakrishnan, good to have you with us here, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Your first thoughts, sir? Mr. Noel Tata, unanimously chosen as a leader of Tata Trusts.
Well, I didn't even know that, but if you say that he has been chosen, I'm delighted.
He has been, sir. We're reporting that he has been, yes.
But he is the chairman of the Tata Trust, all the trusts.
Yes, chairman of Tata Trusts, yes.
That's very good. I'm happy.
Have you...
Yeah?
Yeah, what should we expect from here, sir? I mean, as someone who's worked in the system, as the former board member at Tata Sons, I'm sure you would have worked with Mr. Noel Tata as well, right? You would have had interactions with him. Can you tell us?
Noel is a very, very nice and sensible man, and he's got his heart in the right place, and he will do wonderfully well for Tata. So I'm very happy for Tata Trust, and I'm sure Chandrasekhar will do what is right for the business.
We in the media, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, don't get he's a very private man, obviously doesn't, not very many interviews or any such. Even, of course, with the huge success of Trent more recently, you said he's a very wise man, very nice, and could you tell us a little bit about his style of working? What can we expect for Tata Trusts under him, sir, from here on?
Listen, Tata Trust is about charitable activities, NGO activities, and it has been set on a certain strategy and a certain path. And Noel Tata represents continuity, and he will take it on that path with all the business acumen and entrepreneurial acumen that he has acquired during his business career, which he has concluded in executive sense. He is now non-executive. He'll be able to add a lot of value to the trust, not different from his elder brother, Ratan Tata. So I think this is a very positive development, okay?
Mr. Gopalakrishnan, good afternoon, sir. Shireen here. We were speaking yesterday about the possibility of this decision, and it is now official. What I am given to understand is that there were two meetings that took place this morning. One meeting of the trust to pay homage to Mr. Tata, and the second on the chairmanship decision. And, what my sources tell me that there was not even an iota of ambiguity in the decision made to appoint Noel Tata as the chairman. It was a unanimous decision, and there was consensus on taking this decision forward. Prashant, one of the other aspects that's important to point out, to just build out context, there was some conversation on whether this decision should be taken today, given the fact that we just had Mr. Tata's last rites being performed yesterday. But finally, the decision was that this is what Mr. Tata would have liked. His approach was to get on with decision-making and to move on with life. And that is why the trust decided that they would take forward the decision on appointing Noel Tata as chairman today. So that has been the sequence of events as it has transpired. Mr. Gopalakrishnan, when we were speaking yesterday, you were talking about how when you joined the Tatas, you were mystified about how this structure works. But now, as a former insider with an understanding of how it does work, and now with the appointment of Mr. Tata, Noel Tata, to take things forward, business as usual and a continuity in the approach, you think?
Absolutely. I mean, earlier the trust chairman and the Tata Sons, the business chairman, if I may use that expression, was the same person. JRD was and Ratan was. And sometimes that could provide a potential conflict. Though they handled it, you could not leave that as a structure. So it's now very nice. You separated the NGO, not the NGO, what do you call it, the trust functioning from the business functioning, and this is wonderful. This is, you don't need to have a PhD in organizational structuring to know that it's
Yes, you're right in pointing out that was the amendment made to the Articles of Association where the decision was taken post that bitter boardroom battle with Cyrus Mistry to separate the two positions of the trust as well as the Tata Sons chairmanship. And of course, as we know, N. Chandrasekharan was reappointed and does have a few more years now as far as his tenure is concerned as chairman of Tata Sons. Mr. Gopalakrishnan, it's always a pleasure, sir. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC-TV18. Many thanks for your time today on this story that's developing, and of course the decision that has been taken, which is breaking on CNBC-TV18 this afternoon. Appreciate you joining us here.
Goodbye.
Mr. Ranina, let me come to you, sir. This is, of course, still source-based information that we are picking up, but
Yes.
two meetings took place this morning. One on the meeting to pay homage to Mr. Tata, and the other on the decision of appointing a successor. And Noel Tata it is, as was being speculated, and as we were discussing earlier this morning, Mr. Ranina.
Yes, absolutely. I think the right decision, because Noel has been in charge of various important companies of the Tata Group, and he has been on the Tata Trust, so there'll be complete synergy between the Tata Trust and the corporate entities, and therefore this is the right decision. As I expected, this will be unanimous. There'll be no conflict, nothing. It will all go through very smoothly, and I think the best is yet to come for the Tata Group. Tata Group is going to prosper from and go by leaps and bounds. So I think it's a very good decision, good for the market, good for the shareholders, good for all stakeholders.
Let me take that point across to Mr. Vallabh Bhansali. He joins us as well. Mr. Bhansali, thank you very much, sir, for taking time out to speak with us on a big day and a big story that's just broken on CNBC-TV18. I'm picking up from my sources, sir, that Noel Tata has been appointed. That decision has unanimously been taken by the Tata Trust to appoint him as the chairman after the demise of Mr. Ratan Tata. Your thoughts, Mr. Bhansali, on Mr. Tata's appointment?
Well, it is not entirely unexpected, Shireen, and one can be only happy about it. The way Tatas have functioned is that they shape people, and they shape Tatas. I mean, Noel was a born Tata, and so, he has been working very quietly in an area where they've had spectacular success. And so as I try and visualize him in the new chair or new position, I see that, the qualities of simplicity, humility, the quintessential Tata character, is all over him. and his experience. They all will come with different backgrounds, but they all had the chance to grow under the big trees. Mr. Ratan Tata under J.R.D. Tata and Noel Tata under Ratan Tata. So they work closely for very long. They have their own pattern of, you are part of this story, this company, that company or not, doesn't matter. So I see that the fact that part of retail, and he has done such an outstanding job of that whole business and related businesses, I think gives me great happiness and hope that the amazing story of the Tatas will flourish under him.
Mr. Bantali, you picked up on something that I remember Mr. Ratan Tata told us in an interview, and he said that it doesn't matter, that he believes that the group would change in its complexion and its aspiration, but the one thing he hoped would remain intact were the values that drive the group, the integrity and the sense of trust and the values that have driven the group. With Noel Tata coming in, as you pointed out, so there will be a passing on of the baton, but more continuity in terms of approach, you think?
See, it is hard to say, and it's also unfair that I think someone who sits on such a big position must have the benefit of own vision, own preferences. And as long as it comes from a sense of purpose for which Tata have stood for, more than 130, 40 years, I think that's what matters. That has worked for them. That has worked for the country, society, community, etc. And I think that is very important because there are very few enterprises who eventually are able to practice that. It's a spiritual thing almost, because it's easy to talk about purpose, but unless your purpose is really broad-based, people don't recognize it as purpose. It's always a business objective defined in, whatever language, etc. But there's a deep purpose for which they have been, committed and worked now through generations. So I think that purpose gives you the direction, which is, of course, shaped through the prism of the person, the times, the opportunities, etc. And therefore, I would say that as long as that's what I meant when I said that you are groomed to be a Tata. And what you said, what qualities that we talked about, they are essential to being a Tata. And I think Mr. Noel Tata is full of them. I wouldn't want to impose one approach or the other. Let him take, he has been seeing all this. Now he's a mature person. He has seen all this, go through ups and downs, etc. So I'm sure he's going to bring some wonderful perspective.
I think that's very well put and very well articulated, Mr. Bansali. You're absolutely right in pointing that out. As someone who's observed both Mr. Ratan Tata as well as Mr. Noel Tata, and both have been, individuals who have chosen to fly under the radar. But if we could just focus a little bit on Noel Tata and the manner in which he has transformed the businesses that he's involved with, and you alluded to that in your opening remarks, your perspective on the rise of Noel Tata and the evolution of Noel Tata as a leader.
So, you are baptized by fire. They looked at the horizon. Retail was going to be a very big business. There were various approaches from, their cash and carry to, West Side and other areas. And how they've been very quiet about their business in retail. That's the remarkable part, that they haven't made big announcements and big objectives, etc. This has been under the radar, relative to the size of the group and what they could have been otherwise. We have seen some very big, noisy retail entries. And so from that point of view, I think it gives us a character of the person that he would rather work quietly than make big announcements. But focus on the customer. This is what matters in retail, and do it profitably. I think what's been remarkable about the work that he has done is that he has achieved profitability from very early days. So I think that gives us a character of the person to some extent, but the canvas now is very large. It's a basis of, salt to software, their startups. So all that now has to be tailored, has to be amended, or rather I would not think that, you should look at Tata's through retail eyes. He has to look at Tata's now, with whatever is required, which, as I said, is that great sense of purpose and tradition. And I'm sure that he will do it.
That's right. Mr. Bhansali, you brought up an interesting point that one will have to look at the tenure of Ratan Tata through the prism and the context of the times that he was operating in, and look at the choices that he made with that context as well. As you look at the Tata Group today, I mean, the sheer breadth and depth of the businesses that they operate in, as well as in the context of where India finds itself today, both from a domestic point of view as well as its role and relevance in the global economy. I mean, how would you, what to your mind will be the opportunities and challenges that Mr. Tata will have to weigh?
In a way, they have taken large bets on, what are the trends that are visible today. In terms of their partnership with, to make Apple phones or semiconductor or Air India or their whole emerging digital platform, which is, growing by the day. And of course, they have their traditional commodity businesses in terms of steel and chemicals and so on. So I think they are already well aligned to the trends that are visible today. What it will be in 20 years' time today, I think nobody in the world can probably predict because the world is changing so fast. But what I am trying to allude to is that if you are already a multidimensional organization, that means you are already, have the advantage of that many more horizons. If you are not in software, then, technology becomes that much more difficult and so on and so forth. So I think they are, and now either the emerging businesses of, making aircrafts, and things like that, and defense. So I think they are well poised to take advantage of virtually anything that we can probably conceive of. If the nature of business itself changes tomorrow, what sort of disruption will happen is hard to say. But based on what I can see, I think they have a solid foundation in various aspects of our economy and the trends that we can see.
Mr. Bhansali, thank you so much for so succinctly but comprehensively putting together your thoughts on the innings that Noel Tata takes over as the chairman of the Tata Trusts and what this means now as far as the source to software conglomerate itself is concerned. We truly appreciate your time. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here this afternoon on this big developing story. Prashant?
Shireen, thanks very much for that. Very interesting to hear from Mr. Bhansali wrap up what his sort of big picture thoughts will be about Mr. Noel Tata and how he kind of sort of will lead Tata Trusts from now. And Shireen, as you said earlier, what is also amazing is the speed with which they've moved, right? And I think, as you said, there was a meeting earlier which paid homage to Mr. Ratan Tata, and the second one where Mr. Noel Tata has been appointed unanimously. So, and as that line that I read, which is they've done this in line with Mr. Ratan Tata's sort of motto in that sense to move on.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah.
That is what I was given to understand, that there was some debate and back and forth on whether a decision should be taken as early as today. But when it was very clear that this was a unanimous decision, and there was absolutely in the words that were spoken to me, that there was not even an iota of ambiguity on the decision itself. Then the decision was that, look, let's get on with it. That is what Mr. Ratan Tata would have liked. He would have wanted, the decision to be taken and for the group and the trust to move on. And hence the decision to go forward with the appointment of Noel Tata as chairman today.
Absolutely. And, just it's a big story. If you're just joining us, Mr. Noel Tata appointed chairman at Tata Trusts. And this is, of course, the big story. And of course, I mean, the amazing thing with the group itself is the way this is structured. I think as Mr. Gopalakrishnan put it, one is, of course, the business side of things, which is Tata Sons. And then there is Tata Trusts, which controls 66% in Tata Sons, which is, of course, the charitable arm, the group of charities, which is Tata Trusts. And, and now, of course, we've got Clarity Tata Sons, where Mr. Chandrasekharan is, of course, the chairman, and where at the trust level, Mr. Noel Tata is going to be a chairman. So this is what's coming through, and we'll continue to get you more perspective from people who've interacted with Mr. Noel Tata more than anything else. As we've been saying, he's been an intensely private man, has kept to himself through the rise and rise of trend, and of course over his long business career as well. So we'll try and get you more on this in terms of the road ahead as we go along. So that's it for now, guys. Almost, Vinny.
Thank you so much for that, Prashant and Shireen as well. Some important insights coming in. But the news of the hour, Noel Tata appointed chairman of the Tata Trusts, as the late Ratan Tata would have wanted. The show must go on. And with that, we take a short break. More news and updates continue on the other side. Welcome back. Manisha Gupta is now joining in with Sriram Krishnan, the Chief Business Development Officer at NSE. Manisha, over to you.
Thank you so much for that. And Mr. Krishnan, thank you so much for joining us here at CNBC India. Well, NSE has completed 1 year in commodities. Congratulations to you on that. And how would you look at the year gone by? How has been the response for the products launched?
If I look back, the 1 year that we have gone through has been really, really satisfying. And I say that because commodities is a difficult segment for members to get enabled, for them to invest in getting those lease lines to enable connectivity, because co-location is not permitted in commodities. So it's taken each member about 5 to 6 weeks to get those lease lines, to get connected, to get their front office and back office ready for trading NSE commodities, and then to finally get the algo certification done, approvals done, and then go live. So it's been a bit of a stretch, but we are overwhelmed and really, really grateful for the kind of support we have seen from the ecosystem. I think the ecosystem players acknowledge that there is enough place for multiple exchanges to offer commodity products. And I think that's why they have invested and got ready to trade, to offer NSE commodities to customers.
Sure. Mr. Krishnan, that is a year gone by. But now what are you looking forward to in sense of commodities? What is NSE planning? Are there any new launches in the pipeline?
The 1 year has been a period of getting ready for the ecosystem. And in terms of certain milestones that we have seen in NSE commodities, we've seen intraday open interest peaking at about 600,000 barrels. We've seen more than 1 billion barrels being traded in the last 1 year. About 240 members have got set up already and live on NSE commodities. And I think more and more volumes are building up with each passing day. In times to come, we will certainly look to bring new products. I think it's time for us to look at the list of products enabled by the regulators to get the market feedback on which could be the best products for India in the next phase. I think in phase 1, the focus was on energy products, but in phase 2, we will broad base this a bit and see what the market requires. And very happy to support the market in every possible way.
Oh, sure. Mr. Krishnan, while the last 1 year has been very volatile for commodities, it is said that we are into a structural bull run for commodities. You talked about the volumes to us. Are you also now looking at metals, energy, any agriculture commodities that has been on your list that you would introduce on the exchange going forward?
If you look at the way the economy is shaping up and various sectors are gearing up, in the next several years, there's going to be a huge demand or a huge level of growth that we can expect to see in multiple sectors. And many of these sectors are, in fact, dependent on crude oil and natural gas. For example, you take plastics, or you take petrochemicals, or you take rubber or tire manufacturing, you take aviation fuel, petroleum, as the country is consuming more and more cars, automobiles, and so on. I think there's going to be a definitive demand for crude oil and natural gas. So that was the motivation for us to come out with the energy products first. But I think in times to come, many more sectors are going to grow, and they will require hedging options. At the moment, a lot of hedging happens outside the country. It's going to be our objective to make hedging options possible on the Indian exchange itself, which is the NSE. So, that's the motivation for us to get into this space and see what the market requires us to do next.
Surely. Mr. Krishnan also would want to know on what are the conversations with regulators at this point in time. And as you said, you want to grow the ecosystem of commodities within India, grow it as an asset class as well. So what is it that is being talked about, and what is the plan for the years to come?
We want to make it a really, really big segment. If you look at other countries, the developed countries in particular, commodities is a really large segment, sometimes larger than the equity space. And in India, unfortunately, that's not yet the case. And that's why we think there is a big opportunity for us to expand this segment and expand the market and benefit the market participants in terms of efficient hedging solutions on the Indian exchanges itself. So that's going to be the discussion with regulators on how we can contribute to the growth of the ecosystem in the commodity space, and how NSE, with its vast experience in equity derivatives, can not only replicate the technology, but also offer margin efficiency and bring in innovation into commodities too. That's going to be the theme of the discussions.
We get that. Mr. Krishnan, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations yet again in the last year of commodities for you. As you said, 240 members have joined in, and there's much more in pipeline in sense of participants, products and commodity derivatives there. But with that, that's all the time that we have on the show. Your stocks will take all the action forward.
Hello and welcome to Your Stocks in the Mumbai News Studio. I'm Ekta Batra and with me is Vinny Motiwala. Well, it's turning out to be a session where we're just about consolidating for the frontline indices. We have the Bank Nifty, which has been under pressure. So no real uptick which has taken place for the Bank Nifty and no worsening which has taken place for the advanced decline ratio. So static is what you'd have to say today in terms of trade. We have the mid-cap index, which is up around 100 odd points. Overall, a lot of stocks, however, buzzing around. So we have a lot to cover in the next 30 minutes in terms of queries coming in from viewers. Hi, Vinny.
Hi, Ekta. Good afternoon. From the broader market front, it's a good afternoon coming in. And we're watching out for pharma names. Let's keep an eye out on all of that. Newland Labs is buzzing in trade. We had Wockhardt Pharma also that is buzzing in trade. And a lot of mid-cap movers like something like an BSC is also in focus today. But let's get started with all the stock-related queries. And today joining in with us, we have our experts. We have Shaina Mukaddam, independent market expert, as well as Vaishali Parekh, head of technical research at Prabhudas Lilladher, to answer all your stock-related queries. Vaishali and Shaina, both of y'all, very good afternoon. And Vaishali, just want to understand, before we end the week, we had a bit of a volatility this week. How are you looking at in terms of the markets, any levels that we should be keeping an eye out on specifically for the Nifty and the Nifty Bank?
Very good afternoon, ladies. Yes, so it has been quite a narrow range as far as the major index is concerned. So let's talk about Nifty to start with. I mean, well, it is continuing to be in a narrow range of 24,900 as support and 25,200 as resistance. And since 2-3 days, we've been observing that is what has been happening. So unless and until we see a decisive move on either side, there will be a clarity as to which way the market is heading for. So even the advanced decline ratio, if we talk about, is quite flat. So is the case with volatility index. So I guess it should continue to be in this range. As far as Bank Nifty is also concerned, yesterday we saw a good move coming in. But however, now once again, on near-term basis, we would say 50,800 would act as support and 51,800 is a resistance. So it's a wait-and-watch scenario.
Okay, all right. It's a wait and watch scenario which is coming in. Well, let's get to our first query then. We have Sagar, who writes to us from Bangalore, holds 4,000 shares of Bharat Electronics, which is bought at around 299. So he's sitting on a loss at this point in time, wants to know what to do, whether he should book his loss or he should remain invested in this particular counter. Well, Shaina, over to you. What's your sense on this?
Well, I would suggest continue to hold. Despite him having made losses, I think he would recover it. The first quarter numbers were excellent. I expect even the second quarter to be good. In terms of valuations also, it is decent compared to the rest of the PSU pack. And the order book position is very healthy. So it's better to continue to hold on to the stock.
Okay, better to hold on to the stock is the word coming in from China. But Vaishali, on the technicals, how are you looking at Bharat Electronics? What's the word for this?
Well, the long-term trend is pretty much intact. We saw the recent high of 340 and now it did make a low of around 270 levels. It's attempting to show a bounce back. So depending on your time period as to how much he or she is ready to hold on, I think it's a hold for now, because once we see the stock moving about 290 and sustaining above, it's back on track for higher targets. So, and I would, this is in support with overall, if you see full defense pack, is showing a sign of a bounce back and attractive levels to buy. So I would say stocks like BEL, if it's not for trading perspective, continue holding and in fact keep adding in dips.
Okay. That's a word on BEL. Let's move on. And Akash T is writing to us from Patna. He's holding 50 shares of Nalco at a price of ₹30. Wants to know the future prospect of his investments. Shaina, I'm going to come to you because, obviously we heard a lot about the China stimulus points coming in. So overall, how should we play this stock especially? What should the viewer be doing now?
I would suggest that you can continue to hold the stock, because aluminum prices have actually moved up quite substantially, and this is despite not having any news immediately on the China +1, but that is definitely there on the cards, and Nalco is doing pretty well in terms of managing their balance sheet also. They've got good growth plans in place. So I would suggest Nalco as a hold.
Okay, you would suggest Nalco as a hold. Vaishali, what about you?
So chartically, it's showing quite a robust move. So I would say the trend is so strong. And I would say now for near term, 205 would act as a stop loss. And I think the way the stock is moving, it's ready to go towards 235 to 240 for a short-term perspective. So I would say hold.
Okay, all right. Well, we now have Manoj Jain, who writes to us from Chennai. He holds 40 shares of Zomato, which he's bought at 70. He's asking if he can buy more shares at the current price. So he's currently sitting on a profit. His buy price was 70 odd rupees. He's asking if there's more upside from these current levels. Shaina, coming to you in terms of the fundamentals, do you think Zomato has seen a good amount of upside? Or do you think that there's anything about the fundamentals that could, possibly result in a further upside? And would you recommend a buy at these levels?
Well, see, Ekta, by itself, Zomato looks like a good bet even in the long term, considering that it is moved into profits. Blinkit is doing well, expanding its spread. Having said that, I would continue to hold Zomato, but if I want to add to the sector, I believe you can keep, Swiggy, the IPO is there on the cards. And you can add actually Swiggy, which in my view, the valuations are slightly, will be better than Zomato at current levels in terms of their PE and other valuation parameters. So you can keep some powder dry for investment in Swiggy.
Sure. Okay. Vaishali, just a quick view from you on Zomato as well. Do you expect still a further upside?
Well, the stock chartically is quite flat right now. So if someone has to add at these levels, I would say no. because market is quite vulnerable. Look for a opportunity to get into the stock at around 250 levels. That would be ideal. But contrary to that, if stock moves above 290, then it's back on a strong trend, and then one can look for a 300, 310. But ideal technical levels to get into the stock would be around 250, 55.
Okay, all right. Well, on that note, we need to take a break with the news that we have the markets in just about consolidatory mode, but the Bank Nifty underperforming. We'll take a quick break. Up next, more queries. Stay tuned.